we need to understand what is GST. GST, or Goods and Services Tax, is a form of tax we pay to the government when we buy things at the market or when we are using a service from both private and public sector. Here in Malaysia, 6% of the whole price of the goods or service we bought will be given to the government. Now, when we're talking about the advantages of GST, there's a lot of it. I will explain 3 of the advantages of GST to you guys. Number 1. Before the GST being implemented back in 2015, we do pay for taxes in every single things we bought. Before this, we use SST or Sales and Service Tax, which we paid as high as 16% of the price, and everyone in the cycle, from the manufacturer to the consumer, have to pay for the tax. A sales tax was imposed at the manufacturer and the retailer, and the service tax was imposed at the consumer. So in reality, consumers have to pay more to cover the manufacturer's tax. With GST, the retailer, the manufacturer did not have to pay the tax. Instead, the consumer will totally pay for it at the rate of 6%. Sounds like a bad thing, but if you do the calculation, we actually paid less than we did before. Number 2, in terms of transparency, GST will confirm a greater transparency and much more accountable for the government, since there are only 1 layered tax compared to SST, which has up to 3 layers of tax. Number 3, when we are all forced to pay for GST, nobody can skip from paying the tax. Before this, a lot of Malaysians have run from paying their income tax, which was one of the biggest output for the government to build infrastructure for the country. In return, the consumer should get a lot of benefit from the government, like free healthcare, subsidized education, and more. Lastly, when there are no tax imposed on the manufacturer and the retailer, the cost of factor of production will be much more cheaper, hence resulting a cheaper good and service price for the consumer.
Wow, there's a lot of great benefit we should get from the GST.
But why is the price still going up?
That is the disadvantage of the system.
Which is?
Let me explain. While GST does have their own benefit, it does have a disadvantages too. For instance, by implementing GST, the government are forcing everyone to pay taxes, even the poor, low class and middle class people. Even though the government has already put an exception for few basic products like rice and sugar, the poor people will still be affected by GST heavily. When they implement GST, the inflation will occur. The price of goods will increase due to high price of raw resources. Inflation also occurred because of the irresponsible retailer took advantage of GST and increased the price of goods without control from the government side. And lastly, a lot of goods and services that was never being taxed by government will be taxed 6% of GST. This will result in higher price of services and goods.